With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
Just try to live life through the eyes of a man titan. Ever since a child, never liked it was being fine. And time went by, I realized that I'm more than a curse, but a cure for the worst and an unbalanced universe. Broken over time, yeah, I do the work. Only one with the act on the yeah, you know the words. I'ma take your vision if you don't mind. You and I know time ain't nothing if you can reverse. I'm the only worthy one, willing to fit inside of the gauntlet. Infinity stones, I'm getting all that. They ain't never gonna stop me. I was destined to be godly. I don't care if they don't like me. This is war, man. You ain't gotta like me, but you gotta show respect. Everybody in the game is coming for my neck. Yeah, I like to see them try. I never break a sweat. It's only one man. Titan, I ain't finished taking over. I'm crazy. I'm not mad. Mad Titan, yeah. I'm not crazy. I'm not mad. I just take it out on that. Mad Titan. Mad Titan. I'm not crazy. I'm not mad. I just take it out.
Oh my God, guys. Listen to that freaking fire intro. Mad Titan by Dan Dibb. He actually has the song up on Spotify if you guys want to go check it out. It's called Mad Titan. All right, definitely do me a favor, show him some love. He goes by Limitless AU on Instagram and YouTube. And there's actually a full music video of the Mad Titan, and it looks freaking dope. Do me a favor, go check it out. And when I first heard the song, I reached out to him. I was like, man, like I gotta use this song for my podcast. Because I feel like it fits me so well. Because not only, am I trying to start another brand, the Titan brand, but, away from social media and stuff, with family and friends, like, even though they don't say this to my face, I'm pretty sure that, they're thinking, at least a small percentage of them think that I am freaking insane, that I am crazy, that I am mad to be doing what I'm doing right now. And that is creating content, creating shit, This is what I love to do. I love to create shit. Someone's going to take that and clip that, be like, TC creates shit. That's okay. I don't care. Do what you want. But yeah, so a lot of people, I'm pretty sure they think that, like, oh my God, TC hasn't worked a conventional job in over, I don't know how long it's been now, but I've been getting by on social media. I've been able to, not work a standard conventional job for a good while now, and I consider that a freaking success. But anyway, the intro just fit me so well because doing what I'm doing and trying to do what I'm doing in terms of creating content and earning a living online, people think you're crazy. People think you're mad. People think you're insane. People think you're going to fail. People think you don't have any security, which you don't have any security in terms of like health insurance and stuff like that. But you guys know what I mean. It's really, you really got to have love for what you're doing to find any type of success in it. But anyway, shout out to Dan Dibb for that intro. It's fire. I love it. And wait till you guys hear the outro to this podcast. It's even more fire. And it's also from my boy Dan Dibb. But anyway, I miss podcasting, guys. Right now, I'm in some basketball shorts, and my hair's not done. I'm in an oversized t-shirt. But you guys, that's okay, because you guys can't see me. All you guys can do is hear me. And before we even move forward, I like to introduce myself, to formally introduce myself. Everybody kind of knows me as TC on Instagram and YouTube and pretty much anywhere. But my name is Tony. So you guys who, checked out the first podcast, you guys, I'll give that to you guys. I want to introduce myself to you because you guys are probably the most loyal followers that I've had for a while. And like I said, I want this podcast to be more of a personal thing where we're going to talk about geek pop culture. We're going to talk about life too. It's not going to just be, geek type topics. But let me just go ahead and tell you how the show's going to go in terms of the format. So I'm pretty much going to open up every show with an opening rant, right? You guys like that, right? And then we're going to get into some sponsors for the show. After the sponsors are over, we're going to get into a couple of topics that I've picked out throughout the week. either stuff I've seen on Twitter that I think is ridiculous, or just, major news in geek pop culture and Marvel and DC and stuff. And today we're going to be talking a lot about the Birds of Prey, initial reactions and what I kind of think about that movie going in. And so after we're done with the initial topics, then we're going to go towards the end of the podcast to more of a Q&A where I take questions from you guys and answer them. And then lastly, I have a final thought at the end, and it's not going to be a rant, just kind of like a one final thought type thing. And that'll end it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you guys are listening to on YouTube, do me a huge favor. If you guys can just leave a comment, that helps tremendously with getting the video out there. If you are looking for this on like Spotify and Apple, it'll get there eventually. I think it's going to be on YouTube first. But if this is kind of okay in terms of people actually like it and they're listening, I'm going to continue doing this for a very long time. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. And let's go ahead and get into the sponsors real quick. And can we just say how crazy that is that I have sponsors already on my first freaking podcast, where I wasn't able to give, the sponsors who were sponsoring like analytics of how many listens or how many downloads I get yet. And what that tells me? That tells me that people believe in me. That tells me that people believe in me enough to where they want to help support the show already. And you guys don't understand how much of an endorsement that is in my mind, and how these guys were able, or willing to even sponsor me without having any data. I've been like, you know what, TC, I'm riding with you, you're my boy, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and sponsor your podcast. So this episode of the TC Talks podcast is sponsored by the Snooze and Booze podcast, which is available on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and the Podomatic app. And it's basically a show that talks about current events and parenthood. And if you guys are already listening to me, I know some of you guys are older, some of you guys are parents, so you guys are kind of looking for other things to check out after you listen to this show. I know a lot of you guys might be working, your jobs, and you want something to pass the time, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll check out this TC Talks podcast, right? Well, I don't know how long I'm going to go here, but when my time runs out, go ahead and check out the Snooze and Booze podcast. You guys might like it. The show is ran by Steve Medell, a longtime follower of mine. He definitely has that dark humor. And he did mention to me that most of the time they just end up getting drunk and talking shit. So if you guys want to check out that podcast, definitely check them out. Snooze and Booze podcast on most podcast players. Our second sponsor today is the other TC, I call him, Tone Castle. And if you guys aren't following him on Instagram, you guys are missing out. He is freaking a dope-ass artist. He creates comic and geek pop culture art. And right now, he's giving listeners of my show, the show that just freaking started, the TC Talks podcast, 20% off of all February. If you guys buy any type of art from him off of his website, which is tone, Tone, -castle.com. And the code to enter is TC Talks. If you guys enter that, you guys get 20% off everything he's created. He also does custom art as well. If you guys want to get a kind of feel of what type of art he does, which is geek and pop culture related, he actually did a really, really cool Baby Yoda piece recently. But definitely open up your Instagrams right now, type in Tone Castle, and check his shit out.
And here we go.
Okay, on we go. Onward and upward. Birds of Prey. The DCEU is alive and kicking. No. Oh, man. I feel like... Shazam, Aquaman, two very okay movies, and people will tell me, hey TC, DC's, at least they're headed in the right direction, man. We had Shazam and we had Aquaman, and to me those movies were okay, but I still am a firm believer that they need to stop. They need to, nice cast, stop. Okay, they need to stop, and they need to take a couple of years off, formulate a real plan, and start over again. But that's not what they're going to do, because they've already decided that they are going to trudge forward. And you guys, I don't know if you listen to me or follow me for, any amount of time, you guys already know why I think they need to stop. And that's because the foundations are rotten. The foundations in which the DCEU was built are rotten. And what I'm talking about there, you guys fucking know it. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, just all of that. I mean, Justice League was half of Snyder. But yeah, I just feel like, those were very, very terrible pillars to start the franchise on. And everybody hated it. They hated it so much that Ben Affleck is out. Henry Cavill is up in the air. So this new DCEU moving forward might not even have Batman and Superman that started the freaking universe in it. So, I mean, that could be a whole podcast in itself. But anyway, so Birds of Prey, right? So we just had Aquaman and Shazam, and they were okay. And DCEU has decided to just move forward and Birds of Prey. So when it comes to early reactions on Twitter, I think they're a complete joke. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I don't trust these people. I don't trust them and their early reactions, because I feel like there's more incentive for them to be overwhelmingly positive about the movie than there is to say negative stuff about the movie. And it really depends on the position they're in. So if you take somebody like Grace Randolph, who really is being, I think, the most genuine out of anybody who had early reactions, and I'll go ahead and read hers later. But most people aren't in a position to where they can really talk back or say anything kind of negative because of the industry that they're in. But, when people get invited to these early screenings, right, they get put up in hotels, they get complimentary gift sometimes on their bed waiting for them. It's like a little Birds of Prey, I don't know, Harley Quinn raggedy fluffy shirt she's wearing in that movie. I don't know what they get. Candies. They're pampered, okay? And even if they're not pampered, they get to go early and see it early and tweet about it and get all the clout from tweeting about it. And there's a lot of perks to being able to see these movies early. So I feel I can't trust any of the early reactions, but we're going to go ahead and read some of them. And yeah, here we go. So this is an article by Entertainment Weekly, and just the first couple sentences already are pissing me off. This one says, the first social media reactions are in. Birds of Prey is flying high. The female-led superhero movie in theaters February 7th is gathering praise for its lively, action-packed plot and starry cast led by Margot Robbie. Now, the fact that it has to say female-led, that is so stupid. That is so stupid. And you guys think, oh, here's just a man getting triggered by a female-led movie. No. Do you see any movies that are like called, this is the male-led movie of the Avengers, this male-led? Like, no, people don't talk like that. It's very obvious what this article and publication is trying to do. They're trying to pander to the woke crowd. They're trying to say, like, female-led superhero movies are so, scarce. No. Aeon Flux, Alita Battle Angel, Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman. There's Elektra with Jennifer Gardner, Catwoman, even though it was terrible. It's just they're trying to pander. They're trying to pander so much. And this movie is targeted. This whole marketing of this movie is targeted for like the feminists. This is a feminist movie. By all the marketing we've seen, it's a bunch of girls getting together, girl power, right? Strong female heroes. I can picture them like getting together, putting guacamole on their faces, and having like a slumber party in this movie. That's how the marketing has kind of implied how things are going to go. I don't think that the marketing has been targeting men at all, which is the highest demographic of people who actually read comic books and go see these comic book movies. So I really, in terms of like box office predictions, I wouldn't know what to tell you. I don't think this is gonna do very well at all. But anyway, let's go ahead and read some of these reactions. So this is by H Tran Bui on Twitter. She says, "Birds of Prey is a blast, stylish, kooky, and gut-bustingly funny. It sings when it lets its cast just go ham, especially the Gonzo, Margot Robbie. Lulls a little bit in the middle and is a little on the slight side, but a complete fun watch." And I think that's the overall trend we're going to see in a lot of these early reactions. People say it's fun. I saw Justice League for the first time, and I said it was fun because no shit. All right, you're in a movie for the first time, especially people who go to these early screenings, right? Everyone's hyped to, this is an exclusive club. We're about to be the first ones to see this, right? You got comic book fans or media around you who also love this type of stuff. And the atmosphere, I'm sure, is electrifying, right? You're walking the red carpet. People are taking your picture. You got fans probably noticing you from, I don't know, YouTube channels or industry interviews. And you're in this auditorium or this movie theater, and the audience is buzzing because, oh, crap, we're ready for an experience, right? This is why I don't trust these early reactions, because the adrenaline's up. Everybody's hyped. Everybody wants to say that they had a good time. Nobody wants to come out of the movie and be like, that was complete shit. Because it's going to bring the mood down. It's going to put a damper on the night. But anyway, yeah, when I watched Justice League, it was the first time we were going to see the Justice League on screen together for the first time. And when I watched the movie, I was like, that was fun. I had a good time. That was entertaining. Even me, Mr. fucking critical about everything, right? And it only took me a couple hours to let things sink in and realize what I was trying to do. But eventually you get there. You get to the place where you're like, what? No. You start dissecting things that happen in the movie. You're like, oh my goodness. And so I think what we're going to see a lot of these early reactions say is that, oh, they had a fun time. That's the go-to when you don't really want to be mean to a movie and you just want to talk about your experience of being there. After The Rise of Skywalker came out, so many early reactions were like, oh, it's just a great experience in the theater. I had such a fun time. It's such a fun, wild ride. There's another one. It was a wild ride, an epic journey. It was such a fun experience. This is the type of language you're going to see from a lot of these early reactors. You're going to see this type of language because a lot of them, like I said, a lot of them don't want to be negative on that day. And also, some of them are under embargo. They can't really say anything spoilery. So this is kind of the generic thing they have to say. But anyway, here's another tweet. I can't believe Entertainment Weekly. Actually, I can believe it. They're endorsing this tweet. It says, this is by Meg Sauce. It says, "No wonder white men are so obscenely confident all the time. I saw one woman hero movie, and I'm ready to fight 1,000 dudes barehanded." First of all, it's sad that you need a movie to kind of feel that way about yourself. And then Mallory Yu responds to this, and she says, "I saw Birds of Prey a couple weeks ago and walked out of the theater feeling exactly this way," regarding the previous tweet I just read. Birds of Prey is and this is still Mallory Yu. Birds of Prey is gleefully angry. Harley, Huntress, Canary, Renee, Cass, they're furious for a good reason and express that fury in vastly different ways. It understood and validated that very specific kind of female anger from years of being subjected to the patriarchy. Uh-oh. That should be a warning to everybody about what this movie is trying to say. And I think a while back, they were interviewing Ewan McGregor, and he said something about that this movie is going to kind of address misogyny, which, oh, give me a fucking break. Who wants to go to a comic book movie and be scolded and talked down to? Especially if you're a dude. Like, you're going to be going to this movie and be like, oh my God, men are such trash. I hate myself. Like, guys and girls should just want to go to a comic book movie to being like, oh my God, what a fucking great story. I love these characters. What a who wants to go to be preached to? Nobody. And that's why I think this movie's going to fail. It's just, it's in the language of these tweets here. Let's read one more before we get to Grace Randolph's. This is by Lula Maybell on Twitter. And it says, Birds of Prey is an absolute blast and undeniably fun. A live wire jolt of adrenaline. Oh my God, barf. This language. Hold on. Delightfully devilish and deliriously wicked. Blech. This irreverent, rule-breaking riot delivers a contact high. Kathy Yan is a genius. Robbie, Smollett, Winstead, Perez, and Basco are perfection. Ugh, just the language. It just screams Rotten Tomato critic. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into Grace Randolph's tweet about it, because she made many tweets about the Birds of Prey movie, and I feel like she's being the most genuine out of all of these early reactors. All right, so Grace don't give no Fs, all right? She is on Twitter, and she says, Birds of Prey, let me add it, is extremely pro-feminist, a DCEU's Charlie's Angels, which I prefer to this. That's what she said. She prefers Charlie freaking Angels, the new one, to this movie. And she put, that's not a good RT score, so suspect this will too. That's media. But true DC fans, when you see what happens to Black Mask, no real LGBT representation, I'm curious indeed. So, I mean, here you have it. Grace Randolph on Twitter. I don't know if you guys watch her on YouTube, but she does fantastic breakdowns. I don't agree with everything she has to say. I can't remember. I think she loved BVS and Man of Steel, which you all know how I feel about that. So, but like I said, I don't have to agree with everything a person says to kind of respect what they have to say on certain topics, right? I know a lot of you guys don't agree with what I have to say about every movie, but you guys are still, you respect kind of the reasoning behind it, and you guys want to hear a different opinion. But anyway, yeah, so she's calling this movie extremely pro-feminist, which, like I said, nobody wants to be preached to. I don't know if you guys like going to a movie where you're feeling like it's like a Sunday lesson, like bad boy. But anyway, that's pretty much it for these early reactions. I guess the point I wanted to get across here is that you really shouldn't trust any of these early reactors unless like you've known them and you follow them for years, especially the ones that don't really have a presence on YouTube to kind of show you their history and stuff like that. A lot of the industry people love their jobs and they want to keep their jobs. So let's go ahead and move on. So Sebastian Stan, who plays the Winter Soldier in the MCU, recently kind of spoke up on Instagram. And it was from a tweet that Marvel UK had tweeted. They had tweeted a picture of Captain America and Bucky, like kind of Bucky has his hand over Cap's shoulders before he was with the serum, so little guy, right? And it says, together until the end of the line. And then somebody responded to that saying, together until the end of the line, or until bad, inconsistent, out of character writing turns Steve Rogers into his own antithesis. Shouldn't it be together until the end of the lie now? And Sebastian Stan screenshotted this and he posted it to his Instagram with one of those face emojis that's kind of like, I can't even describe this face emoji. How would you guys describe it? It's got the two wide-eyed with the blushing cheeks and I guess kind of like shocked, I guess, or I don't even know. But anyway, it's just another example of an actor speaking up against Disney and The other actor who's done this recently is John Boyega. John Boyega is infamous now for just trolling everybody on social media, especially the Reylo fans who, were so in love with the Kylo Ren and Rey storyline. But he's pretty much saying, like, this was stupid. This whole thing is dumb. My character, Finn, was wasted, and he's just going all out. And by Sebastian Stan posting this kind of made me be like, hell yes, because I had been saying for the longest time that the ending for Captain America didn't sit right with me. And I made a whole video about it, and that video has the most thumbs down I've ever had on a video. Not a lot of people agreed with me, and people really hated the video, but I felt like I put together a good video explaining why this didn't make sense. And it kind of went against Cap's, like, just like what he's been kind of showing us through movie after movie in terms of, like, I'll be with you to the end of the line. We don't trade lives. Just everything that Cap stood for. Now, I totally understand, people who say, oh, it's a fitting ending for Cap. He wanted to get some peace. But I just don't agree. I just don't agree. I felt like him saying, not screw you guys, I'm going home, like the South Park Carmen thing. He's pretty much like, peace guys, I'm gonna go live with Peggy. You guys, you just go do what you gotta do, continue to fight the good fight. I'm out. Even though he's a super soldier. He's not a normal soldier. He doesn't age the same way. His body doesn't start breaking down. He's still at peak ability. He's a super freaking soldier. His work is never done. His work is never done as Captain America. There's always going to be somebody in need of help. There's always going to be somebody who, just needs him. Or there's going to be a team that needs leadership. Like, there's so much more stuff he could do. But anyway, Sebastian Stan actually coming out on Twitter and reposting that kind of gave me a little bit of validation. I was like, thank you. Now, that's just one man's opinion, right? That's just Bucky's opinion, but I thought that was pretty cool, and I want to see more of this. I want to see bad writing being called out by the stars, and I don't think it's going to be something that a lot of stars are going to do, because of course this kind of puts them in a bad light with Disney. Sebastian Stan right now, he's got a show he's working on with Falcon for Disney Plus, right? They've got US Agent in it, so I don't know if Disney was too happy with him doing this. So I don't know if that says anything about his involvement with them going forward, but this was refreshing to see. And, I want to know what you guys thought about, that Captain America ending in the comments down below, even though I'm in the minority. I think that a lot of people are satisfied with his ending. But I just don't agree. And I'd like to debate about it with you guys. So definitely hit up that comment section. So this was crazy, and I feel like I can add more to the convo regarding why and how I think this happened. And this was recent too. This was today. Was it Justice for Johnny Depp was trending on Twitter #1 because audio clip came out of, like, Amber Heard, his conversation with Johnny Depp, where she's like, I just get so mad, I can't control it. And she's like talking about, like, oh, like hitting him, physically abusing him. And he's in the convo being like, it should never get physical. If it ever gets physical, we need to be apart and stuff. And like, he's trying to tell her, like, you hit me, you punched me. And she's like, no, I didn't punch you, I hit you. And she's trying to, you guys need to go listen to these audio clips. But she's trying to, like, you can tell she's trying to justify the reasons behind her putting hands on him. Now, the reason this fascinates me is because Johnny Depp was canceled a long time ago, a couple of years ago, because Amber Heard claimed that he was abusing her. And, reportedly on Twitter, a lot of things that he claimed, and he actually has evidence for, that she did to him. And let me just list these things, because they're freaking insane. Okay, these are psychotic, crazy ass girlfriend type shit, right? And when I say shit, I mean literal shit, fecal matter. We're gonna get into that, but anyway, apparently Amber Heard. I don't know why I keep saying Hood, was physically and mentally abused him repeatedly. She shat in his bed, which at the time he was saying it was like a fecal prank or something like that. What do you have to be thinking to just want to piss somebody off so bad that you literally take a shit on his side of the bed? Like that is some crazy ass stuff. She put a cigarette out on his face. She severed his fingertip, and she even admitted to attacking him. He's got pictures of all this stuff. Like there's a picture of the freaking cigarette butt imprint on his cheek. There's a picture of a severed finger. It's just these two were in a very, very toxic relationship. And it just got me to thinking, like, I try to break it down. How does a guy get like this? How does a guy get into this position where he's being physically abused by his girlfriend? And, me trying to break it down, it's just a man who really doesn't have any respect for himself. And that's shocking to say, because it's Johnny Depp. He's got fame, he's got fortune, he's a celebrity, everybody loves him, he's a great actor. People look up to Johnny Depp. But, you have to have very low self-esteem to let someone do this to you and not really say anything about it, especially when she was coming out a couple of years ago and claiming that he was abusive to her. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get how men are abused by their women. I don't understand it. I can tell you right now, if any woman I was with ever even thought of that, first of all, I would trust myself to get with a woman who I know would never, ever do that, right? But let's say someone decides to do that one day to me, or at least attempt to, I'm out. 100%, I'm out. Okay, I give no fucks, all right? I would never let that happen. Because you always think of, it the other way around, that the woman is the one getting abused to the abusive man, because the man has most of the power. He's bigger, he's stronger, and he kind of abuses that power a lot of the time. So when it's this other way around, I'm really trying to get in the mind of Johnny Depp. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and I think that's part of the reason why he kept it secret, because it's very emasculating as a man to kind of admit that you're being abused by your girlfriend, because she is a woman, right? She's smaller, she's more fragile. It's just very it's very emasculating. And that is the only reason why I think that he kept this a secret. He's embarrassed by it, maybe tried to sweep it under the rug. I don't know. It's obvious that he collected a ton of evidence. Maybe he was just waiting, biding his time to be able to release everything. We hadn't really had anything released until we actually had audio tapes released today of their conversations together. And she's displaying, class. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but she's talking in a way where she's like, I just get so mad sometimes that I can't help it, right? She's talking like a person who has anger management issues. And her excuse for lashing out is she can't bottle it up. That's not an excuse. But yeah, so I was just like thinking, it just, how does a guy get to this point in a relationship? Because I could think also maybe she was being abusive to him, and he, in his mind, he knew if he ever struck her back, like if he ever laid a hand on her, that's it. She could just go to the cops and been like, he did this and this, And we're in 2020 where it's believe women at all costs, right? Johnny Depp was fucking canceled around a couple of years ago because Amber Heard claimed he was abusive, and the whole time it appears that she was the monster. And this is Mara, who's in the DCEU. She was in Aquaman. And so, I mean, is she going to face any consequences? I haven't seen any mainstream media talking about this. It hasn't been all over the news, even though there's physical evidence of tapes being released. What's going to happen to her? Is she going to stay Mara? Is Warner Brothers going to recast her? That'll be funny. That'll be funny to see what's going to happen. Because I mean, and this is not a lot of people want to talk about it, but you know, people think it's a joke when this happens to men. And it sucks because I know, like, I'm not saying that anyone who listens to this podcast like might be in this position, but there might be one person who this is currently happening to that's listening to this. And you know, they don't want to speak up out of shame because, you know, they're a man, right? Society says men should act a certain way. They shouldn't be being abused by their woman, and they should have control over things like that. So this is coming out like I'm freaking being a doctor or a psychologist and trying to tell you what to do, but I can only say what I would do if I was in that position. And like I said, the first instance of anything like her like trying to like throw a hand or anything, I'm out 100%. And I'd go to the cops myself. I'd be like, you know what? I was with this girl for this long. She tried to, you know, put a hand on me, and I know that if I even you know, countered or try to do anything to even stop her, then my ass would get thrown in jail. And I would go to the cop myself. I'd be like, this happened, and boom, get out ahead of it and do that. But guys don't do this because, like I said, one, they're ashamed of it. Two, they don't have enough confidence in themselves. Some feel that they deserve it, right? Some feel that I just don't understand it. I can't put myself there mentally. But anyway, that was a crazy story today. And the fact that it's rumored right now, and he even spoke about it, I think, or it was written somewhere that she claimed it was a fecal prank, the whole, you know, shitting on his side of the bed type thing. But oh my God, dude, like a woman who's crazy enough to pull down her pants, I don't know, she might have been naked already, and take a dump on his bed. And it's so hilarious too, because the simps online and they say it jokingly, right? Like, oh, I don't care. Like, I'd let her sit on my bed. She's so hot. Like, it's a joke because it's only funny because hot girls can get away with a lot of freaking things. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. But you know, people will say, oh, TC, you let her do that too. Absolutely not. Okay, I would not let a girl hit me or be violent towards me. That's ridiculous. Never. The whole shitting in the bed, I'm not really into that either. But I'm just saying the whole thing was trippy, and I'm really curious to see, you know, what's going to happen with her moving forward. Is there going to be any punishment at all? It is trending #1 worldwide, and it trended all day today. So I'm really curious to see, you know, the mainstream media's response, Warner Brothers' response, and just anybody really.
Mail, you got mail, you got mail, you got mail, you got mail.
All right, how'd you guys like that boomer bumper? Hashtag boomer bumper. The old school, you know, you've got mail, because I am 33 years old. My sister hated that bumper on her podcast, and I was like, man, I'm taking that shit because I love it. Anyway, this is the Q&A section of the podcast where I'm going to go over, you know, some questions from you guys, and I've asked you guys to throw in questions from Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TCDoesComics. Definitely follow the Twitter because that's where I'll be able to get back to you more quickly. Instagram is just too crazy. And also, if you guys are a patron, you guys get your question 100% read. So I think that's the $5 tier. And if you guys want to hit up the Patreon to support, even more than just to listen, even if you guys are listening, that's 100% support. But if you guys want to go above and beyond, become a patron. It's patreon.com/TCDoesComics. All right, so we have our first question from Brandon Nickel, who's a patron. He says, what are your thoughts on the whole MCU in general? Things they did right, things they did wrong, besides casting Brie Larson. So, Brandon knows me. Brandon knows that I think Brie Larson is just insufferable. But we won't talk about Brie Larson right now. A big thing I think is I think the MCU is taking less risks. I think in the beginning, the MCU was very risky, and I could just go to Iron Man 2, where they implemented, some of Tony Stark's alcoholism. Like that was just kind of I didn't think they did it perfectly. I think it could have been done a lot better, but they tried to do the demon in the bottle storyline. And they also, there's scantily clad women in that movie, which you don't see anymore. Because I think Marvel and the MCU / Disney are now trying to make things super kind of kid friendly. I think they're taking less risks now. And if you take a look at kind of like the feeling around a lot of the early MCU Phase 1 movies, there's just a different vibe to the movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, like all these newer movies. Like there's just a different feeling. And I think it's that the formula is well known. The Marvel formula is well known and established. And it means that, Disney can churn out movie after movie and take less risk and still reap the rewards. So, yeah, that is one thing that I think the MCU needs to go back to doing, is taking more risks again. All right, so the next question is from another patron. He actually signed up for the $10 tier, which he gets a special Titan nickname. And Isaac, I'm gonna bestow you with a Titan nickname right now. It's from Isaac Camarillo, so your nickname is gonna be Isaac Corona Camarillo, just because it flows off the tongue, I'm Mexican and I speak trash Spanish and I can't really roll my R's, but I just see you as an Isaac Corona Camarillo. So that is your Titan nickname, and I appreciate the support, brother. And so he asks, do you think the DCEU still has a chance to be successful with this universe and with the tie-in with Flashpoint, or does it need to reboot in the whole universe? I kind of answered this early on in the podcast that I really do believe that the DCEU should just kind of do a hard stop, right? And then reboot itself in 2 to 3 years. I wouldn't say wait 10 years before you try again. I think going with the Flashpoint where they do like a soft reboot, it's going to confuse the general public is already freaking confused. I guarantee that. They'll be like, especially when that new Batman movie comes out with Robert Pattinson, to be like, what the heck? I thought Ben Affleck was Batman. And then when they eventually recast Henry Cavill, which he doesn't have a very good relationship right now with Warner Brothers, and they'll be like, what? We have a new Superman? It's just so messy, dude. It's so messy that I really believe they should just stop. Maybe wait 2 to 3 years, formulate a master plan. Do like Marvel did and Kevin Feige and plan out 25 movies. Plan out a 25 movie arc, right? Have Darkseid as your first big bad that you build to. I don't care if you're behind at this point because Marvel already did it. If you're competent and you have a really engaging story with great writing, great characters, epic moments, bro, people will show up to that. Okay, so this whole Flashpoint soft reboot, I don't believe it'll work. I think it's just going to confuse everybody a lot more. And so if it were my wishes, I wish they would just stop and try again in 3 years. But that's not what they're going to do. So good luck to them with their Flash soft reboot. All right, next question is from Matt Borst, who's also a patron. Appreciate you, bro. And he asks, let me just pull it up real quick. Besides Ruffalo and Brie, what major actor would you replace in the MCU and why? So, I actually love a lot of the MCU castings. I think they were spot on with a lot of the castings. If you think about Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, you think about Chris Hemsworth is freaking Thor. You think about others. Chris Evans is fucking amazing as Captain America, right? And even like Strange is good. I would think to the people who were like miscast, and what I mean by miscast is that they could have been used for so much better. All right, I'm gonna give you a couple names here. So definitely Mads Mikkelsen, who was used as Caecilius in Doctor Strange. A lot of you guys are like, what? Who? Yeah, if you sneezed, you missed it. If you blinked, you missed it. I think it's blinked is the saying, not sneezed. But yeah, he was the villain in Doctor Strange, #1. The dude with the eyes, right? Mads Mikkelsen would have been perfect for a Doctor Doom. And it just pisses me off that he was wasted as that character in Doctor Strange. Speaking of wasted, Idris Elba. Idris Elba is an amazing actor, and he was wasted as Heimdall. And I don't care if he's not too old for Jon Stewart, okay? Idris Elba could have played an awesome Bishop of the X-Men. Hell, he looked like Bishop in freaking Thor Ragnarok and pretty much all the Thor movies. His appearance looks like Bishop. And also, he could have been an amazing Jon Stewart of the DC EU. So those two actors I feel are wasted, and I guess I could think of a couple more right off the bat. Definitely Rachel McAdams as a side character in freaking Doctor Strange as well. Like, people don't even remember that Rachel McAdams is in the freaking MCU, but she's there. Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver. I mean, he was a great Quicksilver, but we barely got to see him. He's dead, right? He could have been like somebody else as well. I don't know, like a Human Torch or something like that. But I guess those three would kind of be my picks for people that I feel were miscast or not used correctly, or it could have been so much more because they're fantastic actors and actresses. But thank you, bro. Appreciate the question. So those were the questions from my patrons, and I'll say this now: if you guys want a question 100% read on the podcast, because I think I've got 4 patrons, so I can get all the questions in, right? But if I start getting like 50, 60 under that tier, I can't obviously answer 50, 60 questions from patrons. But there's a great chance you guys are going to get your question read right now if you guys hop onto the Patreon. But now I'm going to go to Instagram, because I do throw up some polls of people who want to ask questions, and I'm going to pull from there now. So this one's from Darren CC 1987. It says, what do you think is different about MCU Spider-Man from other live-action versions? Where do I begin, bro? Where do I start writing my memoir about how the MCU Spider-Man is different? And obviously a ton of ways. I mean, we don't have the classic Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn relationship with Peter yet. Aunt May is Aunt Bay. She's super hot, right? She's like an aunt. She's the floozy aunt that everyone wants to smash. Tony and Happy both want to smash her, and she's happily putting Happy into friend zone. I don't even know how I said that so fast, but also, Ned Leeds, Michelle Jones not being like the real MJ. There are just so many differences. Also, like, he gets his suits from Tony Stark. A lot of people like to clown on him, call him Tony Stark Jr., but he really is little Tony Stark Jr. I mean, he's not really having to do like the economic struggles that we've seen in the past with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, where he has a job as a bike messenger delivering pizzas, I forget. And this new MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland, he feels kind of privileged, right? He's got this rich mentor, Tony Stark, or had, R.I.P. Tony Stark, mentoring him, giving him all these high-tech gadgets, giving him an internship program, even though it's fake. Like, he's a little bit privileged in that sense. So yeah, the differences are vast, and those are just some of them. Thank you for your question, though. This question is also from Instagram. It's from Jorge 829. It says, what was the first comic book movie you recall watching? That is a great question. I have a terrible freaking memory. If you guys ask my sister, any of my family, or my cousin, they'll be like, yeah, Tony has a terrible memory. But if I had to think back, because I remember watching Batman the Animated Series when it first came out in 1992. I fell in love with Batman, right? But before that, I was watching Batman Returns. I think I watched Batman Returns before Batman 89. So I'm going to have to say Batman Returns, even though that movie is campy as hell. Like, Penguin looks like an actual penguin. Danny DeVito, classic penguin. You had a weird Christopher Walken in that movie. That movie is always going to have a little bit of charm for me because I think that was the first comic book movie I ever saw growing up, or I can recall seeing. So yeah, that one will always have a special place in my heart over Batman 89, even though 89 came out before Batman Returns. And also, did that movie make me love Catwoman, Selena Kyle, aka Michelle Pfeiffer, and that sexy ass that movie did a lot for me. All right, but yeah, thank you, Jorge. Appreciate the question. And last question from Instagram is by HiggyDR4WS. It says, if you could change the ending of Avengers Endgame, what would you do? I would not have Captain America do that. I would have Captain America, if he's gonna go out, man, have him sacrifice his life. I actually think Captain America should have been the one to sacrifice his life and die, and Tony should have kept living. Tony has a daughter. Captain America didn't really have anybody. So I would have had Cap go out like a true honorable soldier, go out in battle, maybe try to go at Thanos alone before everybody showed up, right? Say Thanos took out Thor and who else was he with? Iron Man, right? And it was just Cap, and he was like, man, fuck it. He's like, I'm going after Thanos one-on-one. And he gives this all, and you have Thanos like tear his heart out of his chest, and then that really makes you hate Thanos on a deeper level. And then, the sling rings appear, everybody comes out, and they see Captain America dead, and it carries so much more weight to it, in my opinion. But that's what I would have changed. I did not like the ending with Captain America, and I would have changed it to that. So appreciate you, Higgy DR4WS, and yeah, let's move on to one final thought. So my one final thought, I just wanted to say that if you have something that you're passionate about, go for it. Go for it, because life is too short. And I want to kind of mention the whole Kobe thing because it really kicked my ass into overdrive. Like, I was procrastinating on getting this podcast out for reasons that I don't even want to talk about. Just maybe like, I would get on here and I would stumble over my words, or I wouldn't be a good podcaster even though I did it before, or I don't know, people are not going to like the sound of my voice. I don't have a good voice for podcasting. I was just making a bunch of fucking excuses to myself. And, this whole Kobe Mamba mentality thing, it really did kick my ass in gear. Tomorrow is not promised. And it's so sad what happened to Kobe Bryant because, if you think about it, Kobe Bryant was a Hall of Famer. Kobe Bryant had 4 beautiful daughters and, a wife. And he was at the peak of his powers. He was going to get into, being a mogul in marketing and winning Oscars and movie production and stuff like that. And if something as tragic like that could happen to him, it could happen to anybody. Like, I could be on this come up with the TC Talks podcast or Titan or TC Does Comics on YouTube. And say I one day make it, I got over 1 million subs on YouTube, and then boom, it could just be taken, I could finally achieve that, right? And then the next day, it could be gone. All that work, all that grind. That's what I feel happened to Kobe. And that's why it's so sad, because the potential, of him transitioning to his second life, almost life after basketball, he went at it, with the Mamba mentality. The same mentality he went at basketball, right? And it's just such a tragedy. And I think the saddest part about it, is that Gianna, his daughter that died with him, was a spitting image of her father. Like, there's clips online of her doing the same moves that Kobe did, the kind of like spin and fade away. And like their bond, you could tell their chemistry. Like when, there was a point where Kobe, he didn't really watch NBA games after he stopped playing. And the only reason why he got back into the NBA is because Gianna, his daughter, was like, yo, dad, like I want to learn about this and that. And that's when we started seeing Kobe kind of come back into the media eye when it came to the NBA, and having his daughter courtside, and there's a meme that went viral where it's just him talking to his daughter, explaining what goes there. And it's just a sad situation. It's so sad overall because they both had so much life to give, and I really wanted to see what she would become. And the thing that gets me the most is that, people would always go up to Kobe and be like, hey, Kobe, when are you going to have a son, right? When are you going to have a son to carry on your legacy? And the daughter, Gianna, would be there and be like, hey, what about me? Like, I got this. Don't worry about it. And you just know that Kobe tells his daughter, like, fuck the WNBA. Like, you're going to be the first woman in the NBA. And she was so skilled, man. I could see that eventually happening in the future if she trained hard enough. Like, and it's just so sad that we're not going to get to see, that play out. And, it's everybody says it, prayers and condolences out to the family and everything. And I mean, they're not going to heal. It's going to take a long time for them to get over something like this. I don't think you ever heal. It's just that sad. But I wanted to say a little bit of something about it because it did inspire me. It kind of kicked my ass in gear and gave me a reality check. Like, hey, dude, like you could be working this whole time to build your brand. You could be at the top, and then boom. Why are you waiting? Why haven't you put a podcast out? Why haven't you started Titan? Why are you procrastinating in all these YouTube videos? Like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? Like, life is too short. So thank you, Kobe, for, all that you've given us in basketball. I was a big NBA fan too growing up. He was our Michael Jordan. And yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. And that is going to do it for the first episode of the TC Talks podcast. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. If you've made it this far, it means that you actually made it an hour pretty much listening to my voice and my thoughts and my opinions. And I appreciate you guys so much because, I mean, that's an hour of your time, spent listening to me, plugging me into your ears, which is a very personal thing in my opinion. And if you guys could help me out just by leaving a comment, liking the video, maybe sharing it somewhere. And I want to continue this and I want to see where it can go. And I'm excited about it. So yeah, I need to learn a quick sign off here at the end of every episode, but you're about to hear a very fire outro. So I'll give it to my man Dan Dibbs to take us out. All right, guys, peace.
Yes, I'm the Joker, one of a kind. Actors try to play me and they're losing their minds. Yeah, psychopath killer is how I'm defined. And I get him alive because they're probably right. My life is a comedy, a Joker is the headliner. Everybody asking me for smoke, but I don't think that I can get higher. I'ma pull up with some black wheels, then I might leave with some red tires. Why so serious? Let's put a smile on that face. I don't see the light anymore, everything dark, guess I got a case of insanity. Joker is the name of the fleck, died with my sanity. What does it mean to be crazy? What does it mean to be insane? Most of these people don't get my ways, but I bet they would if they felt my pain. Yeah, what does it mean to be crazy? Yeah, what does it mean to be insane? Yeah, most of these people don't get my ways, but I bet they